Hello, today we're discussing cultural appropriation versus cultural appreciation and the consumer paradox. How can we be so aware of different cultures while remaining so ignorant? First off, let me explain what is cultural appropriation. Cultural appropriation is when adapting and exploiting aspects of another culture while erasing origin and meaning. It is usually performed by a privileged group against a marginalized group. An example of this is wearing traditional clothing out of context without realizing the significance and origin it holds. For example, wearing traditional clothing for a Halloween costume simply for your own benefit or to claim uniqueness. Cultural appreciation, on the other hand, is showing respectful interest in a culture with permission or full credit, ensuring it is not for personal benefit and exploitation. For example, if you're invited to wear the traditional clothing of a certain culture to attend a cultural wedding, that is considered appreciation because you're not adapting to exploit for personal benefit, rather to show respect and appreciation to the people of that culture. You may be wondering, how is this a paradox? People are becoming more informed about different cultures as social media and educational resources advance. But cultural appropriation is still all too common, if not getting worse. It's a paradox since it's contradictory. This can be seen as how can we be so aware of different cultures while remaining so ignorant? This same paradox is explained in a different manner by Business of Fashion article as globalization makes cultural appropriation unavoidable while social media platforms make it undeniable. This same article explains how many people consider cultural appropriation to be appreciation because different cultures have been inspired by each other for many years. However, with the prevalence of social media and people from various cultures voicing their opinions on culture and how it is construed, the entire perspective on what should be considered appreciation shifted, creating this paradox. Now, let's examine what can be culturally appropriated. First off, language, art, music and literature, clothing, social norms, customs and values, history and government, religion and holidays are all cultural elements that can be culturally appropriated and appreciated. Here are a few visual examples of appropriation and appreciation. First off, the headscarf and the hijab. Secondly, the kimono. And third, indigenous culture and garments. In all of these pictures, you can spot the difference, whether it is a Halloween costume or simply used for a costume, that is considered appropriation. In the bottom pictures is what you consider appreciation. Let's talk recent events. According to a news article, culture appropriation is becoming more and more prevalent in fashion, one being the headscarf, also known as the hijab in Muslim tradition. What makes appropriation an issue is that while these cultures face discrimination, people from other cultures and organizations benefit from it and are congratulated. This raises the question, how is it that when one culture acts and dresses in a certain way, it is discriminated against and mocked, whereas when it is done through fashion or another culture, it is praised? According to a Guardian article, women in France are not permitted to wear headscarves to work and are restricted from wearing it in public. However, the headscarf appears to be a fashion statement on recent French fashion runways. The Cut article discusses this recent news by using French brand Balmain as an example. But what made it so confusing was the elephant in the room. Doesn't France hate headscarves, or is it only when Muslim women wear it? Amani says from the Cut article. These specific examples and statements are what create the paradox because it is unclear whether the brand was expressing appreciation for the headscarves or simply exploiting headscarves while Muslim women and others continue to face significant discrimination for wearing them. What is the solution for retailers who are currently experiencing issues within this paradox? Fashion and retail are strongly intertwined because major clothing brands create what is fashionable. What is the solution? When it comes to fashion and cultural clothing, big brand retailers should give those from different cultures a chance to design and manufacture their own clothing. However, if they do decide they want to be inclusive and include cultural elements within their line, they must give full credit to that culture rather than claiming it as their own. They should also conduct additional cultural research before releasing any item to ensure that it is sold in an informed manner, to raise cultural awareness rather than for personal gain. Thank you all for listening. Overall, this thought-provoking paradox does raise many questions about how society is culturally evolving and whether certain acts should be considered cultural appropriation and appreciation.